Today, I fly into uplifting Israel for a work trip, where I suffer the hardships of splendid weather, lovely friendly people, and the world's most amazing food. I also managed to bring my own unique brand of clumsiness to my training sessions at the hotel gym, where I decide to eschew the bike in favour of the treadmill for a cross-training benefit. Good morning from Inspirational Israel. It's a lovely morning here, and today I'm about to undertake a little bit of cross training that will hopefully help with the fitness on the bike, but will also let me assess whether my fitness has been improving over the last 3 months since I last ran. And I'm looking to undertake a 1.5 mile to 2 mile run on the treadmill at 2 degrees to see if I can still do the 1.5 miles in under 10 minutes. Now, from the bike, I've learned the benefits of warming up properly. So I used to go straight and hard into the run, but now I do a little warm up, gradually increasing the speed until I get to a couple of kilometers an hour over the speed that I'm actually going to run at, then warm down a little bit, and then hit the hard run for 1.5 miles to maybe 2 miles. And this is about the running pace, 14.5 kilometers an hour. And I'll gradually increase the pace as I get further into the run. Warm-up's now completed. I'm going to have a couple of minutes walking on an incline before I hit the main run, but I can tell I haven't run for a little while because I can really feel it in my calves already. Just into the main run now. I started at 1.8 kilometers. I need to get to at least 4.4 at a good pace. I'll report back in a bit. First 800 meters completed. Feeling very good. Clearly, the fitness on the bike is crossing over to the running. I accidentally hit the emergency stop at 1 mile. So, starting again. Coming up to the first 800 at the second attempt. All's okay. Final 800 to go. Inside the final 400. Just dropped it on the clutch. Sometimes my ability to create difficulty knows no bounds. Forgot to do up the GoPro attachment correctly. So I'm just finishing off the cardio element of this workout with a brisk walk at 15 degrees because it really helps me stretch out my hamstring muscles, my calves, and squeeze the glutes. And I'm going to move on to do a little bit of single leg lower body work in the gym before I have breakfast. And in Israel, the breakfasts are stupendous. And a big thanks to the gentleman who picked up my GoPro and handed it back to me just off the back of it, flying at some considerable speed off the back of the treadmill. And it shows how robust GoPro cameras are. Thank you, GoPro. In a hotel gym, there's always a treadmill. So I always like to check out how my fitness is progressing without being seated. And then there's always dumbbells. So it's a great time to get in some single leg work and also get a nice stretch in the muscles after the run. see that it is my left side that's my weaker side. So for the next set, I'll start on the left. Now for some stretching with some single leg Romanian deadlifts. Don't worry if you wobble around a little bit during the first set of single leg Romanian deadlifts. It takes time for all the stabilising muscles to fire up. So hopefully the next set is going to be a little bit better. It's good to stretch the muscles out while they're still warm. And I gradually move into this movement and increase the depth by extending my hips and bum backwards. Like that. You can really feel the stretch in the hamstrings. Don't force the movement. Now to stretch off the quads. This is to loosen off the hip flexors muscles, which basically are here and here. And you should feel the stretch through the quads and the hip flexor muscles. I've got both my feet planted against the wall. I'm gradually extending my butt towards the ceiling and feeling the tension here and through here, whilst keeping a nice arch in my back. You definitely don't want to force this movement. Gradually, around here, the muscles will warm up and release a little bit more, like that. Just take your time on this one, and you keep the tension through the hip flexor muscles, through pushing through the hands. So that feels really good. And I found, especially after a run, or really any cardio exercise, and certainly after weights, if I do these 3 stretching exercises, it stops my muscles from seizing up and makes for a much better training session the next day or the day after. Israel, purveyor of the most wonderful breakfast. Loads of nutrients and protein and slow digestion carbohydrates in there. And time for some vitamin C and carb replenishment. Beautiful. Israeli bread and Israeli honey. And Israeli bread is top notch. It's every bit as indulgent as it looks, but great for a little post-workout treat. So now I'm well and truly buzzing on the carbs. It's time to go to work. So on the deck for lunch, salad, the emphasis being very much on the veg, which are prepared beautifully here in Israel, so there's no need to add any oils or sauces. A little bit of protein by way of salmon to repair muscle damage, and a small brown roll for an added source of carbohydrates. Welcome to a beautiful morning on Bike Racing Without Mercy. It's time to hit the gym and then off to work before flying home this evening. But first, a pre-workout Israeli style. Eager to hit the chest and back, I pair the machine chest press with the lat pull down. The idea being that while the chest is working, the back stroke lats are resting and vice versa. So, for the chest press machine, I focus on feeling the movement in the pectoral muscles and pausing at the bottom of the movement, and then initiating the push by contracting the pec muscles hard and squeezing them at the top. And after 10 to 12 reps, I move on to the lat machine. And with 20 to 30 seconds rest in the bank, I then commence the movement with a nice wide grip, using my hands as hooks to hold onto the bar, and keeping an arch in my back and my chest up, I initiate the movement by squeezing the lats and bringing my elbows down and back until the bar touches the top of my chest. Then I squeeze my lats hard at the point of peak contraction. And then I move back to the chest press machine, repeating this cycle 3 times in total. Time was tight, and I certainly wasn't willing to miss out on a breakfast Israeli style, so I decided to pair opposing muscle groups with low rests, 20 to 30 seconds between sets. This is called supersetting, and it's really a bodybuilding technique used to maximise work completed in a short time. Muscles warmed up and full of blood, I then moved on to the dumbbells where it was practical to film the entire 5 minutes. Again, supersetting another pushing movement for the chest and triceps, this time the incline dumbbell bench press, with a different pulling movement for the back and lats, this time the prone dumbbell row. Again, working antagonistic muscle groups, i.e. opposing muscle groups, with the back resting while the chest is working and vice versa. My objective here was to ensure that the muscle groups that I was targeting were doing all of the work. So again, the emphasis was on having a nice controlled movement, starting with a pause at the bottom of each movement so as to stretch the pecs or the lats, and then a good hard contraction to either push the dumbbells upwards or pull them back to me in order to contract the working muscle groups hard and squeeze them at the top. I worked through 8 reps for each set, with 20 to 30 seconds rest between sets, repeating for a full 3 cycles. And of course, this created a great rush of blood and lactic acid into the muscles, aka chasing the pump. Whether it's a deadlift, a squat, or riding a bike, a strong core and abdominal muscles is super helpful. So next I moved on to another superset to pair the captain's chair leg raise with an 8 kg dumbbell in order to emphasise the lower abs,
and a Swiss ball crunch with body weight to emphasise the upper abs. The key to any ab movement is breathing in and then squeezing the abs hard in order to initiate it, and then breathing out during the contraction. And you really want to make sure that it's the ab muscles that are doing the work rather than momentum or your hip flexor muscles, for instance. And so it's really good to slow the movement down a little and emphasise the peak contraction at the top of the movement. And for the Swiss ball crunch, this is quite easy because you can have a nice 1 second squeeze at the top to really crunch those abdominal muscles together. I repeated this for 3 cycles, each with 10 to 12 reps per set, and was rewarded with a huge surge of lactic acid and pump that was more than sufficient. With the upper body rested a bit, I finished with a similar superset grouping in order to work the shoulders and tris using a seated rotating shoulder press and the opposing muscle group of the biceps via standing dumbbell curls. And in both of these movements, it's really important to create a nice stable base with your foot positioning and get plenty of air into the abs and a good tight core, and then get your chest up and shoulders back. And then you initiate the movement with the working muscle group and complete for 6 to 8 reps for each set, again completing 3 cycles.
So even though I haven't worked the lower body, I'm still going to have a stretch as normal as per yesterday, because I want to race the bike tomorrow and I want the muscles to be nice and supple and ready to go.
And for clarity, whilst it's a bodybuilding workout, I know from experience that with all the cardio I'm doing on Zwift, allied to the fact that it's super hard to pack on muscle, will certainly ensure that I'm not at risk of bulking up. And in order to really bulk up, I'd have to cut out the cardio, eat at a caloric surplus, and then I'd gain some muscle and size, but also some body fat. But this is a super effective way to enjoy a workout while resting the legs, and also potentially grow a little bit of muscle whilst at the same time keeping the body fat at bay. And it enabled me to earn a super large but very healthy Israeli breakfast.
As you know, I value consistency, so here's breakfast for this morning, although some tuna added instead of the salmon. Time for the succulent fruit. And now for Mr. Carbohydrate. And the bread is so good, it really doesn't need anything else on it. I'm in a rush today, and no time for a treat. The salad bar to end all salad bars. There is literally no excuse not to eat really well and healthily in Israel.